Hey you guys, it's Mrs. Akins. How are you? I am doing pretty well, but I gotta be honest, I'm ready for this weather to warm up. I'm tired of May being so cold. So we are going to start with our rhythm of the week. I have it all ready for us. I like this one this week. Well, I like all of them, but this one's pretty fun too. Okay, so let's get going. So first thing is I see two rests at the beginning. Now remember that rests don't make any sound. So I'm going to put an R underneath to help us remember. But when we get here, we're going to whisper these R's. We're going to whisper the rest. Okay? Then we have 2 eighth notes. What do they say? These say TT. If you remembered that, awesome job. And our last note, our quarter note, says ta. So let's speak it together. Are you ready? 1, 2, ready, go. Rest, rest, ti, ti, ta. Did you whisper the rest? Let's try it again. Ready, go. Rest, rest, ti, ti, ta. I liked that. Nice job. Can you find something? I'm going to tap on my desk. Can you find something around you to turn into a percussion instrument and tap it with me? Ready? Go. Rest, rest, ti, ti, ta. Yeah, be really careful that you're not playing on the rest. Even though we're whispering them, we don't want to make any sound with our instrument, with our percussion instrument that we created. Let's do it one more time. Ready? Go. Rest, rest, ti, ti, ta. Nice job. All right. So I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about opera. I talked about musicals last week, and I was super excited. You guys did give me a lot of awesome feedback on the musicals. I was so excited to read which musical video that you liked the best and why you liked them. That was fun. Thank you for getting back to me. And I decided that with the amount of positive feedback I got, we were going to go ahead and talk about opera today. I'm not going to go too wild on opera, but I do want to talk about it because it is important, and I have some videos in the description for you to watch too. And I'll talk about those. So opera is really similar to musicals in a lot of ways. So they both use a stage and music and singing to tell a story, kind of like a musical. So the musicals that we took a look at were The Lion King, Frozen, Cinderella. And so each of those are telling a story, and you probably know the story for those. Now, for operas, they're a little bit different. The stories are typically a little more dramatic, and they're longer, and they're usually a little more complicated. So the biggest difference is that operas really come from classical music. And so the musical style and the singing style is a little bit different. There's typically also more singing and less talking. You didn't really get to see it in the videos that I sent you, but in musicals, there's a lot of times where the performers are just talking and trying to get the story moving along. But in operas, they do that almost entirely by singing. So there's a lot less talking in operas. Also, because operas really originated in Europe, which is where classical music really comes from, most of the operas are in different languages. They're typically in Italian, German, French. There are some operas that are in English, and I have one that I'm going to show you today, a little clip of, that is in English. So it's not that English operas don't exist, it's just that they're harder to find. So I have 5 videos linked for you. And what I wanted to spend some time today is talking really quick about the videos and what you're going to see. Because these stories aren't so familiar, I want you to have kind of an idea of what you're going to see and hear in each of these videos. So the first one that I have for you, I've shown it before in my classroom, but it has been a little while. So if you recognize it, I love this video, so it's fun. So what you're going to see is this is some students that are asking an opera singer some questions, and they're kind of talking to her, and her name is Angel, and she's actually one of the big up-and-coming opera singers right now. She's a big deal, and she's getting even more big. In the video, she says that she's not famous, but that's not entirely true. She's just being, I think, kind of humble. But she really is. She's becoming a big deal. So you get to see her, and you get to see some of the questions that the students are asking her, and she talks about what her job is like. After you're done watching that one, I also have a video of Porgy and Bess. So this is where, this is an opera that you actually get to see Angel in, and this is just a little clip of the whole opera. So what has happened is these two are secretly in love, and they finally get this time where the group of people that they were with has left, and they get to proclaim their love to each other. And so they're singing about how so excited they are that they get to spend the rest of forever together. And you actually get to see Angel in costume singing on stage. And it's really, really, really cool to see her, doing her job as an opera singer. It's so fun. After that, take a look at, I'll have these in order, by the way. Take a look at the Barber of Seville. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a gentleman. His name is Figaro, and he is a barber. He cuts hair for a living. And he has just arrived in this new town, and he is introducing himself to all of the townsfolk. And you'll see him talking about how great he is at cutting hair. And he spends this whole entire song talking about how wonderful he is as a hairdresser. So you'll get to check that out. There are subtitles for that because that opera is in Italian. So unless you speak fluent Italian, you'll probably need subtitles for it. If you do speak fluent Italian, let me know. I'd be very intrigued to hear. So next is an opera called The Magic Flute. And this opera is by Mozart. And you may recognize that name. He's probably one of the most famous names in classical music. And so Mozart wrote this opera called The Magic Flute later in his career. And this opera is probably one of the strangest operas ever. The plot is really hard to follow. Basically, here's what's happening, what you're going to see. I also kind of picked this video for you guys specifically. So what you're seeing Tamino, and he is this handsome gentleman, and he is in love with this lady, and she is captured, and he is looking for her, and there's a few people that are also involved in her capture, and he's looking for them. So he has this magic flute, and this magic flute is going to help him find her, and he is playing the magic flute, and when he does, all these animals appear, and they're enchanted by this flute, and they just dance. The animals dance. So what you're going to see, and I picked out this particular video because you guys, a lot of you commented last week on how cool the costumes and the set design were, and I picked this one in particular because the scenery and the costumes are just so extravagant and so cool. And you really watch, and you'll really get to see all the cool stuff kind of going on behind the scenes. You'll like it, trust me. So that's a little clip from The Magic Flute. The Magic Flute is one of Mozart's most famous operas, just because I think it's just kind of so wild, and it's got, the plot is so cool. I mean, most opera plots, older operas, were a little more serious with their plot, but this one's just kind of silly and wild, and I think that's why people like it so much. Then, lastly, I have a video from the opera Aida, and this is a video of the chorus. So when you're doing an opera, you have singers that are kind of your main characters, and then you have all the rest of the actors that are in the background, and those are called your chorus members. And so this is a video from the Aida, where basically these soldiers have just returned. This is set in ancient Egypt. It's very cool. The set is awesome. The costumes are super cool. And basically these soldiers have just returned from battle, and they are victorious, and everyone is singing about how fabulous Egypt is. And it's just really cool to see. But what you're going to hear is you're hearing a ton of voices sing at one time, instead of a soloist like we saw with Figaro, or we saw with a duet when we're watching Porgy and Bess. So there's a lot of things that go into an opera, just like a musical. When we're watching those musicals, we know that there's tons of things going on in the background. Just like with The Lion King, when we watch The Lion King, you see everyone in those costumes, everyone's making things happen. Plus, there's tons of people behind the stage that are helping make it happen too. So most of these operas are pretty old. A lot of these operas were written 50, 100, even more, many years old. And what's important to remember is sometimes when we see those musicals that we saw last week, we think, oh, these are so much more cool. They're new and they're modern and they're super fun. And these are way better. I hear that a lot. Operas are different, and sometimes they're harder to watch for, number one, we can't always understand what they're saying because they're in a different language. Two, they're longer, considerably longer. Some operas are over 3 hours long. That's really long. But operas have a really special place in music. They're very influential. Composers now look at these old operas to influence their writing now. If they're writing vocal music and they want to see how some composers use these really different melodies and these different, how they were portraying emotion. Maybe there's like a really sad part in an opera and they want to see, okay, well, how did this composer create the sad emotion? Or maybe there's this really joyous, someone wants to write a really joyous song. They might look at these. And operas are still performed today. Some of the videos that I have to show you are from the Met, and the Metropolitan is in New York, and it's probably one of the most famous opera houses, and they are still performing operas today. In fact, you probably recognize a little tune from an opera from Wagner's Lohengrin, and it's the Wedding March, and I'm going to put a link to this one as well, and I think you're going to recognize it because it's still used today at weddings. This basically what's happening is the main character of this opera has found this mysterious guy, and he won't tell her his name, but they decide they're going to go get married. And so they go, and then this bridal chorus plays, and it was such a big deal. Wagner was just an absolutely fabulous composer, and this melody just kind of stuck over time. And so now we still use this wedding march that Wagner wrote hundreds of years ago. So it's still really cool. So check out the videos that I have for you today. I think you're going to find that in some ways they're similar to musicals, and then in a lot of ways they are different. And these are just snippets of full-length operas. So again, you're just getting a little taste of what a full opera is. So really listen to the musical style. I think you're going to hear the singing style is very different. The musical style is very different. And you're really going to hear that right away. And that is the biggest difference between the musicals and operas. So that's it. There's no assignment this week. Just check out those videos. Some of them are a little bit longer, but you don't have to watch the whole thing, but I think you'll love them. The style, the set, and everything's really, really, really cool. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get a hold of me. And until then, I'll see you next week. Bye, you guys.